Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're going to enjoy this video as much as I know I'm going to enjoy filming it. So today I'm going to be talking about my most recommended brands for each category of makeup. And it was so hard for me to decide how to title this video. So I want to give a shout out to Stephanie Marie because she helped me a ton. I was like, I don't know how to do it. So, because it's such a long description of what I want to talk about. But basically, this is the gist. If I have one overarching question when I have a client sit in my chair, it is this. What's your favorite brand of makeup? I'm like, if you only knew how vague of a question that really is. Because it all depends. And that's what I tell them. I said, it just depends on who's asking. Are you young? Are you mature? Are you dry? Are you oily? Do you like heavy makeup? Do you like light makeup? Do you want natural? Do you want glam? Full coverage? Light coverage? Are we talking blush, bronzer, foundation? Like, it just totally depends on the very nitty gritty of what we're talking about. So it got me thinking that I need to do a video on this because I always answer my clients, but why not answer y'all? Because you might have the same type of questions. So basically what I'm going to go do is I'm going to go through each category of makeup. So primers, foundations, blushes, bronzers, and I'm going to tell you my recommended brand. Now, let me preface by saying this may not be what you think it's going to be based on what I've told you my favorites are. It's going to be what I think is the best brand to tell anybody for a good place to start. So while, you know, my mascara, for example, like right now I'm loving the Bare Minerals mascara, but if somebody asks me, you know, what mascara, what's your favorite mascara, or what do you recommend I get? I'm not going to say Bare Minerals Lashtopia because that's one mascara. I've never tried any other Bare Minerals mascaras. I don't know if the other ones are good or if they're crap. So I'm not going to tell you to go buy Bare Minerals mascara when I only know I like that one within the brand. Does that make sense? I hope so, because that's the gist. I'm going to tell you a brand where I know there's multiple mascaras that I've tried and I think you will like. That's the brand I'm going to send you to. So that's why I compiled this video, and that's a long intro, so let's go ahead and get started because I have a feeling it's going to be long. So I'm going to go through each category of makeup, and we're going to start with primers. Primers are very, very subjective, just like foundations, really just like every brand of category. But if somebody asks me what primers I recommend, I almost always send them to Smashbox. If you don't know, I do freelance for Smashbox every once in a while. So I've used every single one of their primers, but personally, I hold three near and dear to my heart. The Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Water, I love it. I have done this look for you. I will post it in a couple of videos. I am peeling really bad today, so it may look a little patchy, but I have used a lot of these products on my face today, and I will tell you as I go. So I did use the Smashbox Primer Water today. You can see I'm all the way down there. I have a smaller one that I carry in my kit. I use that for a refresher spray, for a priming spray, for a setting spray. I use it for it all. The Photo Finish Pore Minimizing Foundation Primer is wonderful for oily skin or anybody that has pores that they want to hide. Personally, this is my favorite pore minimizing primer for everybody, not just for me, but just in general. So I do carry that in my kit. And this one is probably my favorite, and I rarely ever hear it talked about, but it's the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Oil. Now you can see it doesn't look like that much has been used. I use this on everybody, but it literally takes, not everybody, like if you're super oily, I don't, but it literally takes 3 drops. And every foundation that I have ever used on top of this glides over it so smoothly. I also have this on my face today, so you'll see how I use it. It's absolutely beautiful. So Smashbox in general, they've got color correcting, hydrating, their original photo finish primer, their light photo finish primer, their radiance primer. Really any kind of primer you need is going to be covered with Smashbox. Now let's talk about foundation. The one foundation brand that I almost always recommend when people ask is Bare Minerals. Now, I only personally have 2 foundations from the line, and it is the Complexion Rescue, which y'all know I love, and the Bare Minerals Bare Pro, which I also love. I don't talk about this as much, but I do love it, and I use it on clients because it is very good. I have used this one today on my face, but the reason that I recommend Bare Minerals is not only do they have this one and this one, but they have powder, they have pressed powder, they have loose powder. They have like hydrating foundations, regular matte foundations. They run the gamut of foundations. So whatever you like as far as the type of foundation, Bare Minerals is likely going to have it. And I stand behind their products because I've tried almost all of them, and almost all of them I love. Now for concealers, this was not hard at all. It's one of the main concealers that I carry in my kit. And even though it doesn't necessarily get my top 5, I know it will work on almost everybody, and there are so many options to choose from, and that is MAC. MAC has a huge array of concealers. I personally love the Pro Longwear. I have about 4 colors of this in my kit, and I also have all 3, I think maybe they even have 4, but I have 3 of the Pro Conceal and Correct palettes. I use these a lot for the face. They're my favorite face blemish concealer, but they also work under the eyes, and they also work well for color correcting because each palette has a correcting color in there. I also have the Water Weight Concealer, which I haven't used as much, but it is good, and the Select Moisture Cover, which I like to use on more mature skin. So really and truly, they've got way more than that to choose from in the form of concealers, and I just really enjoy their selection, and the ones that I've tried consistently work for me. Now for powders, the one that I recommend, y'all probably will not ever guess this because I rarely talk about the setting powder especially, but it's Laura Mercier. I use the Laura Mercier translucent powder a ton in my kit. Now, I will preface by saying I do not use this under the eyes. I find it to be too drying. But if you have normal to dry, or if you have normal to oily skin, this is a wonderful finely milled loose powder that's going to set and lock your foundation in place all day long. For under eyes, I personally love the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder. You know, people say it has flashback. I don't find it has flashback. I never bake with it. I would never bake with a brightening powder. I don't bake in general, but I definitely just think that a light dusting of this does the trick, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I also recommend Laura Mercier because I know this is not the only powder products that they offer. They have the Candle Glow powders, which I've tried and liked. They're very similar to the Hourglass ambient lighting powders. A beautiful finish, great setting powder for dry skin. They have a mineral powder. They have an illuminating powder. I mean, they have so many options. And like I said, the ones that I've tried, I really enjoy. So that's kind of a no-brainer in the powder department. Now for bronzers, this might come as a surprise to you, even though I've recommended this brand before for bronzers, but it's going to come as a surprise likely because they're matte bronzers. And for me personally, I don't wear a ton of matte bronzers, but the Bobbi Brown bronzers are by far the most recommended by me to my clients in the form of bronzers, because a lot of times people who aren't that into makeup don't necessarily want a sheeny product on their face. It kind of scares them. They're kind of put off by it. Matte a lot of times does look better in photographs. And the main reason is this is one of the largest selection of colors in bronzers that I've seen a brand do. Now I'm sure somebody's gonna come and be like, well, so-and-so brand has more bronzers. That's fine. I'm talking about me personally. These two are Natural 1 and Stone Street 16. So Natural I carry in my kit. Stone Street I've also used Golden Light. I'm building my collection in my kit as I run out of other bronzers because they just work so nicely. They're very smooth, they're very pigmented, but they're very blendable. And like I said, the range of colors from really light skin to very dark skin, it just can't be beat. Blushes. Y'all have heard me talk about these blushes a ton, and the reason that I recommend these is because they have 2 different finishes, and both of them work wonderfully on almost all skin tones or skin types, and it is the Becca blushes. So we have their mineral blushes, which I think this is the only mineral blush I have. I have the same one in a palette, but this is Songbird. I do have Wisteria in a palette that's just exclusive to that palette, but these are so gorgeous on the skin. They would work for normal, dry, or oily skin, and if you have normal to dry skin, or if you have oily skin and you just love to glow, I highly recommend the Luminous blushes. These are some of my all-time favorite blushes ever. I have 4 of them. So this is Camellia, Foxglove, Tiger Lily, and these look really bright in the pan. And when I get them out with clients and I'm about to put them on, I'm like, don't look at the blush. Don't look at the blush. trust me, don't look at the blush because they do not apply to the face like they look in the pan. And this is a smaller one of Snapdragon. Just really, really, really pretty. I'm using a combination of Becca blushes from a palette on my face today that you'll see in the video. They just work well. They just work well. Okay, for highlights, I'm pretty sure you can guess what brand I'm going to say for highlights, and it is Hourglass. And the reason I say for highlights for Hourglass is because they have such not only different finishes with their strobe and ambient powders, but a wide array of colors. So these are the ones that I have personally. I carry 3 of the ambient powders in my kit. Radiant Light I use on myself every single day. I have Dim Light, which is a gorgeous beige. I'm about to hit pan on that one. Diffuse Light, which is for my more pale, fair ladies, but it's also wonderful to set your under eyes with Diffuse Light. Luminous Light, which is more in the actual highlighter category. A lot of the bridal pictures that I post online, everybody's asked me, what highlighter is that? What highlighter is that? It's almost always Luminous Light. It's got that perfect amount of glow. It's just gorgeous. And then the strobe lighting powders, I have the Brilliant Strobe Light. And then I also have the limited edition palette, which made it as my top favorite highlighter in my top 5s. It's what I have on my face today. So gorgeous. So they can be used as setting powders, highlighting powders, finishing powders. They can be used in a lot of different ways. And because they're so versatile and have so many different colors, that is hands down the highlighter brand that I recommend the most. Now, as far as shadows, I recommend 2 different brands depending on your budget. If you are wanting to invest in a super good shadow and you don't have like a very small budget or a budget at all, or you just know that you're going to want 1 or 2 palettes that you're going to use every single day and you don't mind spending a little bit more money on them, I personally highly recommend the Viseart palettes. I have these 4 in the 12 pan, and then I also have the Grande Pro that I've depotted. I have about 5 of the Theory palettes that I've depotted, which have beautiful shimmers in them. I have the Cool Mattes, which is like purplies and grays. I have the Dark Matte palette, the Sultry Muse, which is the only 12 pan that I have in a shimmer satin. These do not have a ton of payoff, but there is a time and a place for that, so I enjoy keeping that in my kit. And then the most used Broken Neutral Matte palette. This is what I use on my eyes today in the tutorial that will be coming up. I use it so much. They have since come out with newer packaging where you can actually take the shadows out and mix and match, just like the Theory palettes, which I think is ingenious, and I look forward to being able to purchase those when I hit pan on too many shades in these palettes. I've heard a lot of negative reviews on the 12 pan palettes. A lot of people say, oh my goodness, that's so expensive. You are getting a good amount of product and you're getting 12 shades. I pay $85 for a quad for Tom Ford. So expensive is relative. And that's what I'm going to tell you about the next brand. So if you are like a young adult, you don't have a huge budget, you don't want to spend a ton of money on makeup, even if you have it to spend, I highly recommend the Makeup Geek shadows. These are not all Makeup Geek. They are some Anastasia Beverly Hills, but the reason that I like Makeup Geek is A, for the price, B, they are always consistently good quality shadows. They blend well, they have good pigment. I've never had an issue with any of them. And C, because they do have a wide variety, again, of finishes. They have matte, they have satin, they have shimmer, and they have foiled, and they have duochrome. So that's 5 different finishes, a huge, huge array of colors, and I just honestly can't recommend them enough if you were on the budget. Oh, another bad review I found on the Viseart, getting back to that, I'm jumping all over the place, is that they are super dry shadows. Here's the thing, the drier they are, this is what I found, the easier they are to blend. The drier they are, the worse they're going to swatch. You can't always go on swatches when you're talking about eyeshadow, and these are the perfect example. They don't swatch that well, but they perform on the eyes foolproof every single time. So I always recommend them. So let's see. Oh, real quick, I don't wear eyeliner that much. I will say I always recommend the Marc Jacobs eyeliners and the Pixie eyeliners. So I'll try to insert pictures of that because they're both very long lasting. They are smudgeable, they have a little bit of playtime, but once they set and they're not going anywhere. And they both have a pretty wide array of colors. Mascara. So when people ask about mascara, I almost always tell them to check out L'Oreal mascaras. I use the Voluminous Carbon Black Waterproof in my kit. I don't know how many of those I've gone through. A ton. I've tried this telescopic, which I like for bottom lashes. If somebody's looking for a drugstore mascara, it's got a really skinny wand. I've tried a few of the other ones and I just really like them. And while I am a luxury mascara lover, I don't think that that's something you need to spend the money on. I think that the drugstore has plenty of good mascaras. And for me, L'Oreal has been the true winner in the drugstore. All right, real quick, we are almost done. We're gonna talk about lipstick and lip glosses, and then we're gonna be done. I'm sorry this is so long. So lipstick, you know, before a couple months ago, if you would have asked me, I probably would have said MAC or Charlotte Tilbury. They are still wonderful lipstick lines. I still use them a lot. But now that these have launched, I almost always send people to the Beautycounter lipsticks. I've talked about these color intense lipsticks ad nauseum. I know y'all are sick of hearing about it. I've done a whole swatch video on my other channel. I love these lipsticks. There's really nothing bad to say about them. And the other reason I like to recommend Beautycounter is because they also have sheer lipsticks, which are not as intensely pigmented. They have a little bit of a wider range of colors in that, because in these they only have 8 shades to choose from right now. I have a feeling they're gonna elaborate on those in the future. But again, they also have the sheer lipsticks, which are also wonderful. So they've got 2 really good finishes to choose from for 2 totally different wants and needs, and they're both amazing and they're clean. So when you lick your lips and eat and get lipstick on your food and stuff, you don't have to worry about what you're ingesting. And finally, lip gloss. I'm a lip gloss lover. So this was a little bit hard for me, but I think in general, the 2 brands, I'm gonna talk about 2 because one of them is a little bit of a minty plumping gloss, and I know not everybody's into that, but that gloss is the Buxom glosses. They have shimmery glosses, they have lip polishes, which are a little bit more of opaque, non-shimmer gloss. They are very long lasting. I have Celeste on today. This is like one of the holiday things that I always get every year. But they do have a minty scent to them. Like I said, it's not overpowering in my opinion. I've definitely tried worse, but some people just don't like that in general. If that's the case, I always recommend Bare Minerals lip glosses. I don't even know where my other couple are, but this is Far Out, and I use it a lot. They're great. They're a little bit more opaque than the Buxom, so you can use them on their own and see the color a little bit better. But I don't find that they have that minty feeling, at least not as much as the Buxom. So if somebody doesn't like that, that's the brand that I recommend. I'm sure I skipped over some kind of category. If I did, be sure and ask me about it in the comments below, because I would be happy to answer if I do have an answer. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know that my clients enjoy hearing my favorites and appreciate hearing about brands that have a lot to offer. And so hopefully coming at it from that perspective helped you in a little bit different way than just saying, here are my favorites. As always, be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future content. I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day.